Hi, welcome everybody back to the channel. It's the most heartbreaking, ground-shaking, but never media show. Money taking the man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying villain in YouTube entertainment. I'm keeping my intro short because tonight's a bit of a different stream. Tonight is going to be more of a personal stream about some things that are going on, some things that need to be explored in within the world of the WWE. If you've been following, you know what happened to my uncle, and I've got a special guest with me to talk to everyone about other things that are going down within the WWE, and it's important because this issue needs to be spotlighted. It needs to be highlighted. There's been a lot of things going down, and my whole goal has been to highlight this because I talk about various other things. But like I said previously, this particular thing has affected me on a personal level. It's hit me where I lived. And so I want to bring the facts, and who knows what kind of change that'll happen, but I'm hoping that having these streams, talking to you guys, will get this message out there and we'll get some justice for what has happened to not just my uncle, but all of these people. So really quick, before I pop on my peeps, I got Gary North, Big Daddy-O, John, what up? Janice, how are you? Good to see you here. Geekocidal Tendencies, Stone Cold Jeremy, Evelyn, and the most awesome mod in the world, Sherry K. Kuram, what's up? Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. So let me bring out my guests today. Of course, we have Father Zod. We have Mr. PopCulturePb, and we have Mr. John. How are you guys doing tonight?
I knew he wasn't going to say your last name, John.
Yeah, well, that's why I changed it in 1996 to Alexander. I can't pronounce it.
It's okay.
He just gave up. He just gave up on your last name. He said, "I'm going to introduce John."
Johnny A.
Johnny A. Like Johnny A.
So just let me say real quick about John. John's he's a wrestling insider, and he left wrestling for quite a while, as he explained to me, to go work in Nashville and do stuff like that. And he was gone, and then he decided to come back recently. He's what you call a real wrestling insider. He has tons of stuff. He has collections of stuff. He's one of the few old time. I don't mean to call you old time, but he's one of the older wrestling insiders. And you have a book coming out too, don't you, John?
Got a book coming out April the 6th, and it's called Matt Memories. It's written by myself, which I call myself John Alexander Arzzi, because in country music they know me as John Alexander in Nashville. Oh. And no one knew I was in wrestling. And in the wrestling business, no one knew I was in country music. So it's Matt Memories, my wild life in pro wrestling, country music, and with the Mets, because I had a brief cup of coffee, as they say, with the New York Mets.
And just to explain to people, it said that we were to talk about Pat Patterson tonight, but out of respect for John's book, because Pat's in John's book, we're not going to touch that subject tonight, and it's the best thing to do. And if you want to know about Pat Patterson and why, I guess the best thing to do would be to get John's book. And when's your book coming out, John?
It's April the 6th. Pre-orders right now on Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble, Walmart, anywhere you could find books. I mean, the book is being published by ECW Press, who have done tons of wrestling books, literally, and so it's available everywhere. April the 6th, so you can pre-order it now anywhere.
And John also has a show called Matt Memories. Is that correct, John?
The show, I have two shows. I have a podcast, which is called Pro Wrestling Spotlight Then and Now. And that URL is pwspod.com. And basically what that is because, as you know, Big Lee, I did a radio talk show in New York from 1989 through 1995. And I saved all of the tapes So each and every week, I go over what happened 30 years ago, in episodic order. So right now we're in New Year's Eve of 1990, and then the shit hits the fan in 91 with the scandal starting. But each show is heard by thousands of people because they're now reliving the history from that time period. And the live stream is on YouTube. It's John Arzzi's Matt Memories is the channel. So you could find it. And we air live at 6 p.m. Eastern every Saturday with a different topic.
And his show's starting to pick up a lot of steam, I noticed. So before you know it, it's going to be really out there. So I was looking at some of his videos, and they look very interesting.
Yeah, I put up a lot of content. I mean, I have a lot of archives. I shot films as a kid at Madison Square Garden that people have never seen before, like Andre the Giant's first match there. And I mean, it's a lot of. I have hours of film that I shot as a 13 and 14-year-old rather, at the Garden. And, I've taken over 10,000 pictures of wrestling, and I was a ringside photographer covering all the matches for the WWF and from 1975 to 78. And I also wrestled a couple of matches against Dusty Rhodes, Chief Jay Strongbow, people like that in 78 as well.
Well, I didn't know that. But
no, I mean, I tried to keep that under wraps because I didn't have any training. I went into the friggin' ring with no training. I kind of just told them I worked, and they knew me as the photographer, and they were like, "We didn't know you were a worker." And I got the shit kicked out of me by Dusty because I didn't know what I was doing. And the first thing I did was had him in the corner, and I gave him a shot on top of the head, and that's a no-no. Above itself. And he picked me up by the head, and he was like, "I got to teach you a lesson." And he started giving me the bionic elbow as a shoot. And he sat on my head. For real,
though, right?
He sat on my head to pin me. He sat on my head.
Oh. And Dusty Rhodes and anybody that knows wrestling knows Dusty Rhodes is a legend.
American Dream.
And, hey, PB, would you like to ask some questions? This is PB, and he's my he's Zod's sidekick.
Got it. Hey, PB.
Would I like to ask some questions? I mean, how much did you interact with Mark Calloway?
Good question. I actually, when he was with the NWA, I used to get press credentials. I used to get press credentials, and the NWA and WCW always cooperated with my show, and everybody knew me. So the backstage interactions, talking to Mark in the beginning days with Paul Heyman, was working with him at the time. This was just when he first really got started there. And just a great guy, nice guy from the interaction I had with him.
Now, what was his wrestling name?
The Undertaker.
Oh, my God. I didn't know that. That's embarrassing.
But it was Mean Mark.
I was going to say, not in WCW.
No, not in WCW. It was Mean Mark. He was part of the Skyscrapers with Dan Spivey initially, and it was an incredible tag team.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. You're full of surprises. The more you tell me, I didn't realize that all this stuff. I mean, it's incredible, and I'm actually looking forward to getting that book.
The book there.
Oh, I'm gonna. Definitely.
The country stars that I discovered that are one is a legend and one has just had her 6th #1 hit. So yeah, I've done a lot of cuckoo things, man. Nuts.
I'd like to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you, and then Lee might start asking. I'm sorry, Zod might start asking you some questions. But there's a story I want to pull up here. Lee, if you can pull it up.
Like he corrects himself to get the name right, and then in the exact next line gets it wrong again. I love it.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, basically, this is from Comic Book WWE, and it says that last year the WWE lawsuit over CTE was dismissed, but the latest development of attorney Constantine Keros, who represents former WWF and WWE stars Billy Jack Haynes, Russ McCullough, Matthew Wise, Ryan Sakata, Nelson Frazier in the case, has filed a petition to the Supreme Court Now, Jerry McDivitt down here, who we know quite well, I know quite well. Now, Jerry McDivitt says that the case is old, it's past the statute of limitations, and it will be thrown out. So, what do you think about that? John, do you think that he's right?
Well, I mean, more than 6 months after that lawsuit was dismissed by the U.S. Court of Appeals in the Second Circuit, I believe, they're taking it to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court has got to decide whether they're going to hear the case or not. And, you know, whether or not they will is going to be a good question. It's really anybody's guess on what's going to happen. But if the Supreme Court does decide to hear this case, there's going to be a lot of publicity around it. I mean, you know, initially, there were a lot of other wrestlers in the suit. There were 50 total. I mean, and some of them, you'll know the names. You know, Jimmy Snuka, not here with us anymore. Road Warrior Animal, not with us anymore. King Kong Bundy, Mr. Fuji. There were several that are gone. You know, so I think personally. Go ahead.
Would you say this is going to be like the NFL if it gets to the Supreme Court, where it's going to cost the WWE a lot of money?
Yeah. Once again, pro wrestling has never been really taken seriously by anybody. You know, the NFL and what happened there, they eventually had to come up with this enormous amount of money to pay the athletes that were affected by CTE. And if you don't know what CTE is basically it's a chronic condition based on getting your head hit many, many times over and over again. And you know, that was even some of the things that might have affected Chris Benoit. Right. Aside from the steroid use, that he'd been hit in the head so many times that it messed him up. But it's a chronic traumatic. I can't pronounce the E word. That's with it's very, very long. But it basically it's a brain disease associated with repeated traumatic brain injuries, including the concussions and repeated blows to the head. So, and in wrestling, you know that there's a lot of this that went on and still does. I mean, you know, guys take risks even more today than they did years ago. But the fact, you know, and the thing that I kind of get outspoken about is because of the way the wrestling business has never had a union. It's never had benefits for the performers. There's never been a pension. There's never been health insurance. There have never been employees. They've always been independent contractors. So wow. That's a travesty in itself. So what has happened to the guys over the years has been just sad. To give you a couple of examples, or one in particular, I mean, there are so many guys that, because I was gone for 23 years, Lee, you know that. Right. I was gone. Yes. I got out of the business. I couldn't take it anymore. Not just because of the things that were surrounding your brother, but the other things that were going on, and the fact that I was like constantly under this enormous pressure because I was trying to cover the business from an insider view for the, you know, I was the first guy on radio to do it, and I was getting my ass handed to me, and I was, you know, it was not a good situation. So I got sick and tired of it. I left it for 23 years. I come back, and over those years when I was in it, in the 90s, I did wrestling conventions. I was the first one to do those. I dealt with an enormous amount of guys. And then a couple of years ago, when I come back in, I go to a convention and I see some performers that I booked and had on my shows. And one in particular was a world champion, former world champion, and a dear friend of mine from years ago. And he didn't know who the hell I was.
And who was that, if I may ask?
I can't tell you.
Okay, I respect that.
I won't tell you. I can tell you, but I won't tell you because he's still he's a legendary figure in the business. And I was like, hey man, how you doing? It's good. And he just like, brother, I don't know, who are you? I was like, John Arzzi, you know, we did a lot of business together and da 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 da. And he goes, brother, I don't remember what I did yesterday. So there you go. I mean, that's just one example. And you see these individuals, and you see them, most of them. These are guys from the 90s. I mean, you know, there's been a lot of money made. There's guys are a little bit more. They're a little bit, I don't know if it's smarter or whatever, but they take care of themselves better today, money-wise and everything else. But when you look at all the performers that are still out there, even trying to wrestle, it's a tragedy that these guys
especially when you see these older wrestlers, 50, 60 years old, going in the ring.
Yeah.
And they're wrestling because they have no money.
That's why they're doing it. They got nothing. They have no savings. They got nothing. They got, you know, poor. There's a little organization called the CAC, Cauliflower Alley Club, that, you know, will grant a wrestler a couple $1,000s. And, you know, you got guys like Kamala who just passed away. I mean, there's so many that you see that they have nothing. And they were big stars.
Lee, do you want to take over and ask some questions?
Yeah, I just been waiting. Everyone's like, this is the first time we've ever seen Zod this uncharacteristically quiet, because I want to lay the groundwork down for you guys. This here, I could go the personal route and kind of have some kind of personal vendetta, but my whole thing, as I've been diving into this and talking with various people, doing my own kind of research, the thing that I feel for the most is the people, not the corporation, but the people involved with this, just even from what you're explaining. The people involved with this are getting the biggest shaft. I mean, think about a place with no union, no representation, a place where you can't go to outside doctors because, you know, you got their doctors they want you to see. So, I mean, there's a lot of what appears to me to be manipulation, and I wanted to get your take on it. Do you feel like the corporate structure in general, and not excluding the great people, because there's wonderful wrestlers in there and people who want to legitimately do good. You got people like John Cena who goes to children's hospitals and things like that. So I'm not talking about the character of the wrestlers, but the company. I mean, throughout the years, does it just come off as this kind of slimy manipulation of the system and that title? Because here's the thing that Vince has been kind of coasting on. What do they call him? They don't
not
call
just him.
I mean,
he's part of the problem. It's the industry as a whole. It's the industry that has taken advantage of the wrestlers since day one. I mean, since it was organized. I mean, but the thing is, when Vince McMahon put and decided to go global in 1983 and 4, after he took the company away from, his father had passed, and when he inherited the company or bought the company from his dad, and decided, like, I'm going global, cable television is new, and he started cherry picking, the best talent from around the country, because wrestling was a territorial business. Wrestling, everyone had their own territory. Vince McMahon's was the Northeast. And you had Sam Muchnick in the Midwest. You had Mike LaBelle in Los Angeles. You had Eddie Graham in Florida. You had, a Texas territory. You had over 100 territories where there was a lot of work, but no one ever, they were all independent contractors. There was never a pension. There was never a union, because if you're going to start a union, you'd get blackballed. No one wanted a union. But when Vince took it all over, and when Vince kind of created this, I own it all, that's when it really should have changed. Well, first of all, everyone went out of business. I mean, everyone went out of business. Yeah. And it wasn't until Ted Turner competed with him, and he eventually got Turner eventually went out of business, and Vince bought the WCW. I think it was for like $2 million or whatever it was.
It's not a lot.
And he got all of their video catalog. So I mean,
that's
and now you look at it this way. Now you look at the WWE, and I'm not it's the industry in the AEW with Tony Khan and his dad, who are billionaires who run that NFL franchise and have AEW now. They're starting to offer the guys benefits. There's more employee-like situation in AEW right now. But the point I was making, I guess, with WWE, I mean, they just signed a $1 billion deal because the WWE Network now has just done a deal with, I think it's Hulu, where they're going to take the WWE Network and it's all going to be streamed there. Is it Hulu or no? It's Peacock.
Peacock.
So there will be no more WWE Network in existence. It'll all go to Peacock, and Peacock paid them $1 billion for a 5-year license fee. $1 billion, and for a 5-year exclusive. It still means the WWE owns it all, but they're getting $1 billion over 5 years to move all of their millions of subscribers over to Peacock, who are now going to have all of a sudden millions of eyeballs on their NBC Universal platform. And then you're talking about the 2 other TV deals Vince did in the last few years when he signed $1 billion deal with Fox and USA Network. You know, he's made like $3 billion in the last 5 years.
Would you call I'm sorry, Lee. Would you call Vince McMahon a business genius?
Absolutely. I mean, he's a marketing genius, a business genius. But the thing that's the saddest part of it is that there's still no union, and you're still kind of an independent contractor, although you can't work for anybody else. Now, with all because of the pandemic, because there's no live shows, and because there's no percentages that get to the performers from pay-per-view revenue, because it's all on the network now, a lot of the performers started like third-party accounts, like Cameo, where you can make some extra money.
Yep.
And now he's cut back. He's clamped down on them and threatened that if they continue the third-party associations, that they're going to get fired. And some of the performers were making more money with their third-party subscribers than they were with their agreements with the WWE. So that's what's going on right now.
Yep.
This is the thing, and I understand your position, which is a pretty fair perspective, right? Laying it all on one man. I understand the corporate structure because I cover many different entities that I have issue with. And there's no one person you can target. You can't say Joe from Department A. It's the company themselves. The thing that, it's the truth. But the thing that kind of highlights McMahon for myself is he's always struck me as a pragmatic, very hands-on person. So when you have someone and it's foolish to think he doesn't know every aspect of his business. That man knows everything from when a dime drops across the way. He knows what's going on.
Yes.
It kind of still, like, if we're going to lay some blame down, like, say, for not having unions, things going on with wrestlers, the buck does have to stop at the guy who's at the top, because that should be the guy instituting policies for unions, instituting a safety guard for wrestlers, given some kind of fallback. Hell, even NFL players at a point have a fallback when they play so many years. But these wrestlers, once they get done, right? Why do you think you see Hulk Hogan at his age coming back for like the 15th time? Because there's no
the sad part is that that the old timers are still hoping that they get a Legends contract or get called into the Hall of Fame. So I mean, that's what the culture is for the performers who have long since retired. No one wants to rock the boat because they're still looking for the last payday, or the next payday, I should say. But yeah, I mean, the Bucks has to start with the person running the organization. The person running the organization dictates policy. So if you have a guy or somebody who runs an organization who's like, I'm not going to give them health insurance. I'm not going to give them 401k.
Now, these wrestlers now, don't a lot of these wrestlers now have like managers and stuff that can actually negotiate with McMahon?
Yeah, but they're still, they get their guaranteed downside agreements or their guaranteed contracts now, and but they're considered independent contractors, and so they can't just get up and say, "All right, listen, I'm going to go over to Japan and work 2 weeks in Japan over there," or I decided I'm going to go to Mexico and do some lucha for a month and then come back to the WWE. No, you work for them or you don't work for anybody. I mean, that's just
John, there's a great question here that I think you would like to see. Can you pull up that Geek Osado tendency with that what he just asked, Lee?
The recent one, this one right here.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that one.
Read it, Lee.
So, okay. I didn't know. Okay, if you want to say, all right, Vince knows his business. He is the smartest canary ever. Any other business?
Carney.
It comes on my Welcome, everybody.
Smartest tiny bird in the coal mine ever.
Well, yeah, I mean, his two most notable failed businesses were the XFL twice. Not The Rock bought the XFL now, and the World Bodybuilding Federation from back in the day.
Oh yeah, that was. I remember that.
That's a good point. So here he is. He's so good at wrestling, but I guess that he thinks that he could put that over into other organizations. But when he tries to open up something else, there's a lot more rules around it. I think the smartest thing that Vince McMahon, and listen, I blame Vince McMahon as one of the main culprits in my brother's death. But I'm not going to say that the guy's not a genius because that would make me a fool. So what I like to, but I think the smartest thing that Vince McMahon ever did was call his business an entertainment. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, he took he let the cat out of the bag because he got tired of paying taxes to the athletic commissions around the country, and he declared himself entertainment and not a sport. And he went and he disclosed that wrestling is fixed, that it's predetermined, and that he shouldn't have to pay the taxes to the athletic commissions in the states that had them because he was not a sport. It was purely entertainment. So that's how he got away with that.
Didn't that keep the inspectors out? That kept the inspectors out too, right?
Because basically you had the New York State Athletic Commission and all the other commissions would have ringside doctors, and they would have to take blood pressure tests before a guy would go into the ring. I mean, there were rules and regulation. There were commissioners there. I mean, for the longest time in New York, I mean, the commission was so stringent that if guys even fell out of the ring sometimes, they would, the commission would say, get back in the ring. I mean, they had a lot of rules and regulations that they had to adhere to back in the day. But yeah, McMahon is shrewd. He's a genius. He is, and he's someone who will never give the reins up until he passes away. I mean, he will never relinquish his power. Never. And that's the thing. And he's still, and a lot of people say today that because, the ratings are down and there's nothing fresh going on in the organization storyline wise. But he's the be all and end all. He is the guy. And that's never going to change. What I envision, I see someday when he goes or whatever the situation is, or he may decide that, he's getting to an age that he can't do it anymore. Then you'll see the company be sold to an NBC Universal or a big entertainment company. And that'll be that. And who knows what will happen after that. But, maybe that's a good thing because maybe then.
Really? You don't think that he's going to pass it down to his family and his in-law? And I say it that way because, as far as I know, it's just Triple H.
You have to take a look at the dynamic of the family unit and who likes each other. Who is going. There's different factions. You don't know. I mean, that would be an interesting situation if that ever happens. If he passes, I mean, then it goes to the kids, probably, I would think. I haven't seen a will or anything like that, so I can't talk about that. But, you know,
and it would be hard.
As a personal opinion, I think that if he can't do it anymore, I think that a big company would come in and offer an enormous amount of money for the brand. And that's the way it would go. But, you know, that's speculation. Purely speculation.
And younger people are more apt, like a Stephanie or her husband, they're more apt to take a couple $1 billion than to keep running the company when you really think about it.
Unless it's in your blood, man. If the business is in your blood, it's your blood.
Hey, that noise is really affecting the show, PB.
Oh, that's me? Sorry.
I think so. Okay, something in the background.
Okay,
so, Lee, you have any questions?
Yeah, Shalana had a great point. She said, so you don't see Stephanie or Shane taking over?
I'm saying it's pure speculation. That's what I'm saying.
It could very well happen.
It could very well happen. I mean, I think that on a creative direction, I think Triple H is genius as well. And I think he's the one that built the brand of NXT. That was his baby. And he's done an incredible job with that. Stephanie's very shrewd. She's a great marketer like her father. She knows the corporate world like the back of her hand. Shane is a little bit different. He's cut from a different cloth a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it would be really interesting to see what happens if and when the time comes where Vince decides to hand it over.
See, this is my whole thing with this, is that the thing that annoys me about this, and it's not just the WWE, it's every corporate entity I seem to cover, because I got into this world a lot, covering other things. You've seen browse my other videos, and the thing that annoys me the most, especially in a situation like the WWE, because there is one person you can directly link to having overarching responsibilities, is that I would think in a structure like that, where you have less yes men, less, let's say, corporate boards, even though I'm sure the WWE has them, we know Titan Towers and all that. But at the end of the day, Vince has the final say. And the thing that irks me is all of this stuff that's happened. And there seems to be, and I don't know on a personal level how he feels, but there seems to be no accountability or taking responsibility for any past action, even the way his lawyer, Mr. McDivitt, words things and stuff like that. It comes off as very cold and callous, and it leaves a different impression, whether or not, look, we don't know what an individual is feeling from day to day. We don't know if these things really do eat at him. But the way that it's presented, the way that there doesn't seem to be any solutions to these problems, are the things that really agitate me about this whole situation, especially with my uncle. A second of accountability, acknowledgement, and things like that could have prevented the tragic circumstances. Maybe, maybe not, but it would have gone a hell of a long way of helping out. And I think that that's my real issue, is this kind of almost soulless look and corporate look, cold, calculated look at people's lives. Yeah, I know it's a business, and at the end of the day, you're about making money, right? Whether you YouTube, whether you go to work, right? It's about making money. It's about providing for your family. But there is a way you could still be a decent person, still reach out, still try to make these efforts to smooth over these situations instead of just trying to pretend they don't exist. And that's what I feel.
Well, that's kind of the disparity between the big corporations in the entertainment business and the people that are the ones that make the money, which are the performers. I mean, it's not just wrestling. I mean, you know, look over the course of time, and I was in the record business for a lot of years too. And I mean, it's performers have never been treated fairly.
No.
And they still are,
That's true.
I mean, even record deals today, if you segueing into the music business, those deals, the whole music business has freaking changed. I mean, that's why I got out of that, because it was like, ugh. But over the course of time, the only way you could renegotiate a contract that you pretty much were locked into 7 albums or whatever back in the day was that you had an enormous amount of success, and then you could force the hand by renegotiation. I mean, it's unfortunate and it's sad, but it's not just wrestling. It's all of entertainment. I mean, I mean, even when you get a TV deal, I mean, you sign up for a pilot in the series, they lock you in. And the only way you could renegotiate it is if your show is doing incredible ratings, and then you have a little leverage. But in wrestling, it's different, because no matter what, it doesn't matter who you are, because they, if you're gonna rock the boat, you can just be replaced. Someone else wants your spot. There's 100 people behind you that want that spot, and so it's like, all right, you're done. That's it. And most times, well, at least in the WWE's case, or WWF or Titan Sports, or the names that are given to the individuals are copyrighted by the company. So you can't even use your name if you leave.
See, that to me is the craziest thing. It's like,
but they agree to it. They agree to it.
People are dying.
Eric was called the Texas Tornado, or Kurt Hennig was like Mr. Perfect, or the names that were given to these individuals. And then if a star maker, and you know the WWF made all these enormous stars, but if you leave, you had to be formally known as this or formally known as that. So I mean, I think that has gone a little bit better over the course of time now, but
if they could do it to Hulk Hogan, they could do it to anybody.
Oh yeah, well, Hulk Hogan was different because Marvel Comics owned Hulk.
Oh, did they? Right.
Yeah. So they had to work out Marvel Comics because they own.
I know
Hulk.
that you're up. I know you're up against time because you had a show at 8 o'clock.
5 minutes, and I'm already getting text. Okay. But I got to tape a podcast in a few minutes.
I'm going to ask you one quick thing, because when you leave, we're going to get into my brother.
Okay.
Can you just explain briefly how you knew my brother Tom?
Okay. Basically, I really got familiar with Tom when all of the shit went down and everything happened back in the early 90s, and because you got to remember that I left wrestling for the first time in 1978 after I had those few matches. I actually jobbed myself out of a job because I was a ringside photographer, and after I wrestled, my picture was in the program the night Bobby Backlund beat Billy Graham for the title, and I took my place at ringside like I usually do, and it was Mel Phillips actually who came and got me and said, "You got to leave. You got to come in the back." I was like, "Why?" He goes, and I get in the back, and they're like, "You can't shoot pictures. You were just on our TV. You just were wrestling on our TV this month." And that was the end of it. So, and I never intended to have a full-time career in wrestling. So I got out, and I didn't get back in. I left in 78 and I got back in 89. So I was only familiar with your brother based on the scandal stuff that started happening. But I always respected him, and I always believed him. I believed him. I don't know Garvin or whatever. I mean, but Mel I knew. Mel I knew in the 70s when I was a kid. And Mel was somebody I met in 1974. And that was when I was at the Wrestling Fans International Association. I was running Freddie Blassie's fan club at the time, and I went to the convention, and that's where I met Mel. And he was like, he worked for the Athletic Commission in Pennsylvania. He was working for the WWF as a ring boy, taking jackets back and doing whatever. And I thought the guy was okay. And the more I got to know him back in the day, I was getting a little suspicious. There's like a little weird, like hanging out. And I mean, the things that he did, I mean, it was odd. like when I was in college and I had a girlfriend, for example, and he came to visit me in college. I was like, why are you going out with her? And I actually pulled a picture. There's Mel and
oh, there's Mel. Yep.
And with me and my girlfriend back in my college dorm. And then, you know, I was in the dorm with one of my dearest friends, and he started wrestling with one of my friends. And I'm like, what's going on here? So anyway, I started getting a little suspicious of him. And then, you know, our friendship kind of went away. But when the allegations started happening with your brother, I was like, this fits. The pieces are fitting here, that there's something going on. And so, I mean, by the grace of God for him, he never tried to do anything with me, because he would have been barking up the wrong tree with myself and my family, because he wouldn't.
That was because your family was connected, basically.
My dad was connected. Yeah.
Right. Well, maybe that would have been that would have saved a lot. That would have saved a lot of lives.
And Tom, I always treated with the ultimate respect, because I believed him from day one. And I was an advocate of his back then, as you know, because I believed him. And then when I left, after all it went down, and, you know, I was on the Donahue panel, as you know, I was there. I was on the panel. And I knew the whole story about, you know, Tom being there and the settlement and all that. And I was kind of shocked at that. But, you know, that's another story for another day. And, you know, obviously.
It sure is.
Yeah. So I didn't really hear from Tom again until I came back into the business, really, literally at the end of 2018, and started my social media pages in 2019. And then your brother friended me on Facebook. And I was like, wow, there's Tom, you know, and he messaged me and said that, you know, he was happy I was back, and he was listening to my podcast, and it was kind of cool to interact with him a little bit again. And then, you know, later on, 2020, October, I was approached by an organization that was interested in doing a story, and it was around Tom's birthday, and I reached out and said, you know, this company would like to talk to you, and I understand if you'll say no, but I'm the messenger. And then he was like, you always treated me with respect. I have the text on my phone, man. And he goes, of course I'll talk to you. And he gave me his number, and you know, when I texted him, I didn't even think I would hear back from him. So I was in the shower or whatever, and then a text came in, and then I finished getting dressed or whatever, and I looked at it. It was Tom, and I guess he wanted me to call him at that very minute or whatever. And I texted him. I said, I'll call you in a couple hours. I'm just running around. I have an appointment. I got to do something. And then I never heard from him again. So I mean, that's the way I know you. That's the story of me and Tom Cole.
Oh, you know what?
I appreciate.
I know it does. And I appreciate, you know, you brought so much knowledge onto this show tonight that I'm hoping that people hung around, because especially the wrestling fans, because the stuff you know is incredible. And we just touched a tiny tip of the iceberg.
And
you could probably go on forever.
I'm a dinosaur, Lee.
Yeah.
There's not very many of me left. You know, so that's
thank you so much.
I'm glad everything has been documented in the book. My whole story. I don't pull any punches in this book. I mean, this book is my life. It's my childhood. And I come from, you know, a very poor family that struggled, and just my aspirations and my dreams were just kind of like, I'm going to try to live a better life if I can. And I've always been willing to take chances with my life. That's why, you know, from baseball to wrestling to country music, back to wrestling, I've never been afraid to blow the house up and start again, because I think every day is a gift, and I don't give a shit about money. I just want to live my life and enjoy it, and then do what's right for people. That's it.
Well, Tom would be very proud to know that you.
Well, I was proud to know Tom. I was proud to know your brother.
And we thank you so much, Lee.
All right.
Lee, if you want to say goodbye.
Yeah, I just wanted to say before you get going, thank you so much. This has been a very personal journey for myself.
It has to be. I don't even know how you guys are doing this today.
It's
they're professional broadcasters.
At the end of the day, I mean, right afterwards, I found out before my stream, and I had to go on, and I had everything tagged. We had our articles that we were going to talk about, and I said, I'm sorry, guys, I got to talk about this, and I laid out everything, and it kind of became a confessional kind of thing. And, it really... it helps listening to your insight, and I'm glad that you're willing to share this, because what I want to do is just bring out the truth and look, not to shatter people who like wrestling or say, oh, you're wrong for that, but to bring clarity that although these people might be good, the industry itself needs a light shined on these things. Because if people aren't willing to speak out, if people aren't willing to say something, then nothing ever changes, and you'll get that pushback or whatever. But I won't shy away from it, and it's good to see someone like you who's willing to be like, this is what happened, this is what needs to be changed. And man, I just hope I could reach, or we could get more people who could speak out
John,
and be like,
John, I know you got to leave. I don't mean to cut you off, but I know he has to leave. You're getting a lot of thank yous in the.
Well, I'm seeing those, and I'm really grateful that people enjoyed, or at least maybe learned a little something about these crazy businesses.
I could talk to you all day.
Yeah, I mean, and and maybe we'll do this again. I mean, but if you want to follow me, I'll just give you my social media stuff. I mean, Twitter, it's
already there.
It's at John Arzzi. Instagram is at John Arzzi, and Facebook, in my YouTube channel, John Arzzi Matt Memories, and just look for me. I mean, I have a crazy name. It's not easy.
Lee has a wonderful moderator named Cherry K. She got all your stuff out already.
Oh shit! Really?
I got
it
getting it out during the show.
Thank you.
She's been doing it through the whole show.
Yes, thank you, Cherry K. Appreciate it, and thank you everybody.
When Lee starts, you take care.
Comments. I really appreciate it. All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All I hear is silence. What is going on?
So what did you PB, what did you think about John? Did you think it was pretty amazing, his knowledge?
I think that he has so much more to say, and I would probably listen to it all day. Like, he's got insider knowledge from being in it. He's got insider knowledge from reporting on it. He's from the golden era of wrestling, like everything that I want to talk about.
So if you were running the station, he'd still be here.
I mean, he said he had to leave because he had stuff to take care of. Like, I think he said he had to go do another show. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a podcast, a pretty big podcast that he had to go to. They shoot it once a week at 8:00 Central. Every week they shoot it, and it's a very popular podcast. And his show is just starting on. And within like a couple of weeks, he's already up to 600. He's past you, PB, and you've been here 16 years. You know why, PB? Because you don't show your face.
Crikey.
You don't show your face. You got to show your face, PB.
Showing my face is gonna get people to come to my channel. I don't know about that. People ain't here for my face. They're here for my silky smooth voice.
All the Kevin Spaceys of the world will flock to you once they see you.
I don't need Kevin Spacey watching me. Okay.
Lee, there was a. I'm sorry, Lee. What's that?
Geekosile Sanity said he's still stuck on the connected statement.
John Arzzi is very connected, and John Arzzi's grandparents, and they were pure mafiosa, and they were the real thing. And if you buy his book when it comes out, You know, doesn't it? His book sounds pretty interesting, doesn't it, PB?
Yeah, if it's got the stories in it that it seems like it has in it. Like, I don't know exactly what years specifically he said he was covering. Did he say what years it starts and what years it ends?
All the 80s, 90s up until the 2000s, and it's 80s and 90s.
Okay, so that's like, that means that you're on the roller coaster ride.
Yeah, and he also talks about Mel Phillips, who abused all these kids, slept on his couch in his house. You know, he was a friend of his. Yes, and you know, and Mel is the one that's accused of molesting all these kids. And his father didn't like Mel, and Mel stayed at his house one night, slept on the couch, and he got up and the father just said, "I don't want that dude in my house no more." He said there's something about him. Listen, there's a great story that came out today, and it was written by this woman named Jamie Hemmings. And can you pull that story up, Lee? And this is on my.
Oh, here we go again.
Why is that? Oh, okay.
Because I don't know who you asked to pull it up.
Oh, 1 second.
But yeah, while we're talking about this, that was all very interesting. So, folks, there's also the thing that's going on. If you guys are just tuning in, is there is a concern, just like with the NFL with the concussion. So go ahead, because I see the article just popped up, and let's read this and find out some more.
Okay, and this story is all over the internet today, and it's about my brother and Tom's uncle. On February 19th, 2021, a small group of family and friends gathered to say goodbye to Tom Cole. The funeral itself was private, although it was accessible all via live stream. It was a simple service, no frills, no mention of Cole's association with pro wrestling. Cole's blue casket remained open the entire service, which appeared...
That's not my dog.
Excuse me. Please stop them. PB got his revenge. Okay, I'm sorry, Tom. Thomas Decker Cole, 50, died of suicide February 12th. He was a key figure in the infamous WWF, now WWE, Ring Boy sex scandal in 1985. Cole was one of the many teenagers who helped set up and take down the WWF shows. In 1992, Cole brought forward allegations including sexual abuse and harassment in the ring. I'm going to get past that part. We know. The priest officiating Cole's service appropriately began by remarking, "I really don't have any words." Various friends and relatives provided their words and forth sharing memories of Cole in a mixture of laughter, shock, and sorrow. Cole's sister, Maggie Messina, explained that growing up in a family that was poor and we had to share our heartache, prompted the siblings to find their own way to survive in the world, which included utilizing humor. She described Tom as a good guy with a big heart who loved his family. She also acknowledged the deep suffering Cole endured. He suffered silent and deeply. No one here is at fault. She is emotionally expressed. She meant nobody at fault at the funeral parlor. And she said, "I promise today I'll never leave you." Each of Cole's three daughters, he has three daughters, 19, 16, and 12. Each of his three daughters gave emotional charged tributes. "This doesn't feel real," Cole's middle daughter, Juliana, said through tears. "This is like a horrible dream. I just want to wake up so bad. I'm going to be strong and live for you." Cole's eldest daughter, Alexandria, read a letter that her father had written to her on June 11th, 2012. "My dad was meant to be a dad," she declared. "That's what he was good at." Cole's youngest daughter, Noelle, reiterated the importance of cherishing all of life's moments, especially the little ones, and referred to Cole as the strongest and bravest man I've ever known. Cole's interment was not shown on live stream, just a funeral was. Tom was the most, this is Lee Cole, that's me. And this is what I said about my brother. Tom Cole was one of the most handsome men I've ever seen, described Lee, who pointed out that he and Cole came from a large family of 11 siblings in total. He was a good looking man. He had these shiny blue eyes and he had charisma about him. According to Lee, he was the last person to speak to, I was the last person to speak to my brother. 10 minutes after we spoke, he took his life. We are having pleasant conversations, Lee revealed. We talk a lot about the WWF, and my brother said to me, if anything happens to me, please let everybody know what these people did to me. Lee continued, I believe that I was his suicide note. His family hoping that he went to the mail some letters or something, because he left nothing. No letter or anything. The percentage of times regarding suicide, there is a note left. But knowing my brother, he's not done. He may have went out and mailed a bunch of letters. He may have mailed a letter to Jerry McDivitt, knowing Tom. Tom Cole's death has sparked a fury in his brothers toward the WWE. Well, I'm done reading here, and I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate everybody on Lee's station that has showed so much, kindness throughout this whole thing. And we're probably going to put this to the side and not talk anymore about my brother's death. I think that would be best, because the more we talk about it, the more it's going to stay tragic. But PB, I like to ask what your personal opinion is as an outsider.
Wait, what do you mean personal opinion? Personal opinion of what? Like
of this whole thing. I mean, just
the tragedy.
No. I'm just talking about everything of the tragedy. What is your opinion now that you've never really given your opinion on this? And I just like to know, because
I feel like I have given my opinion on this, and you weren't on the stream when I gave the opinion, because I did it on Friday night when we talked about it for 3 hours.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't want a 3 hour. I don't want a 3 hour. I don't want a 3 hour opinion. To get it down to a minute.
I didn't give a 3 hour opinion, guy. Unbelievable. I said that it's amazing how some people in this world can exclusively only worry about money. And when they're only worried about money, they will do whatever it takes to get it, whatever it takes to hold on to it, and will guard the only thing that they know how to do. Vince don't know how to do anything else.
No. Yeah. And when I asked you that question, you're like part of the family now. Part of our family is a talking emoji. I'll tell everybody emoji,
that's right.
And it's like, so we're going to invite you over to that one day, and you're going to come over as a talking emoji. I don't even know how to deal with it.
I'm not a talking emoji to your son. He knows what I look like.
I know he does.
Yes, shrouded in mystery. Maybe he is a talking emoji. You guys will never find out. Who knows? But no, I think though, with the way you said that is absolutely right. We talk about greed and avarice on this channel with anything that we cover. But it's different being the ones that a company violates. Like, talking about companies that violate our trust is one thing. Like, they messed up my favorite whatever, right? But when they are complicit in taking someone's life or for someone that you love, it makes it personal. And look, I might not talk about what happened with my uncle, but I am going to talk about this company in general, because there's a lot more that needs to be said. There's a lot more to dig into here, because there are people who are being stepped on constantly, and there needs to be some kind of consequences. There needs to be actions taken against these people, because for years they've been operating in the shadows. And if we don't speak up, if we don't say nothing, nothing will change. They will continue to build everyone's lives.
And just so you know, they've been listening to me because Jerry McDivitt has been sending email. Jerry McDivitt is the chief counsel for Vince McMahon, and he's been sending emails out to everybody telling them what a piece of shit I am. Instead of trying to come forward and say, okay, what can we do for Tom? How can we honor him? Maybe we can honor him with a foundation. Maybe we can come forward and say, this horrible thing happened and we're sorry it happened, and start the Thomas Cole Foundation. And the WWE has the Thomas Cole Foundation, let's say. Then, we're going in the right direction. But right now, they didn't even have the decency to leave a reply about Tom. They didn't do nothing for the funeral, even send the flowers for Tom. Nothing. So
man, do you know why? I can tell you exactly why. It goes back to what I just told you. Flowers cost money.
Yep.
And it also means that they would have to admit they did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to do
something is the biggest these days, especially with any corporate entity. The biggest blow to your company nowadays is admitting that you did something wrong. And look, they don't have this position anymore. All of these people are dead. For them to come out and just acknowledge, just say, hey, you know what? Our bad. We're doing this, this, and this, and we're taking this, this, and this step. Making a press release and spinning it, Vince has been doing it for years. And that's what I mean when we had John on. The callousness is what gets me. It's a very cold and calculating callous behind every action. It would be different for me even if you gave me a BS statement. You don't got to mean it, but you came out and you said, hey, to the grieving family, I'm sorry that this is going on. I'm sorry that this happened, and we have been making steps to do this, this, and this, acknowledge and show and be like, oh, this person passed, whatever, or even behind the scenes, do something. But the fact that instead they want to go after you, they want to get the spin machine going, just proves that they are in fact a cold, calculating, manipulative company that does not, they put a dollar sign on human life. And that's a shame. That's the worst part, about the whole thing.
Okay, Lee, I'm going to, I want to pull up something. Oops. Are you still there, Lee?
Just here. Barely.
Okay, 1 second, please. Okay, I don't know where you are here. I'm trying to find you, kid.
Okay, but
Okay, so I want to pull something up here, and John didn't want us to talk about Pat Patterson because Pat Patterson is basically he ran the WWE, and he was everybody. He recently died, and everybody's kissing his ass and saying what a great guy he is. But I want to play this one thing, because a lot of people are saying that they don't believe any of the sexual abuse charges against Pat Patterson. So what I'm going to do here, let me share this.
What are we waiting for?
If you want to pull that up, Lee. And yes, I hit the audio on it. Okay, this is my brother. This is him. This is my brother speaking about. This is during his lawsuit after he got fired again by the WWE.
Ring boy for the world. 22-year-old Tom Cole was hired as a ring boy for the World Wrestling Federation when he was 13 years old. For the next 3 years, he says he was sexually abused by his supervisor, Mel Phillips, who Cole says has a foot fetish. And Cole says there were other abusers besides Phillips.
I was grabbed on numerous occasions in my testicles and my buttocks by Pat Patterson of the World Wrestling Federation, and Terry Garvin propositioned me when I was 16, offered me cocaine and all kinds of drugs to have sex with him. When I refused, I was let go from the company when I was 16, and then I returned again when I was 19. I was let go again because I refused Terry Garvin's advances.
So Cole hired a lawyer and ended up with a $55,000 settlement to cover lost wages. As for Mel Phillips, he was fired from the company. But Cole's family says firing Phillips wasn't enough, and they were at the Stamford headquarters today demanding justice.
I would like to see Mel Phillips put behind bars where the hell he belongs. Because he's a child molester to me, and he can just, it's enough for him just to step down from his job. He's walking the streets, he's molesting children. The man should be put in jail.
World Wrestling Federation President Linda McMahon says an outside investigator concluded there was no evidence of Phillips molesting employees, but the company fired him anyway.
First, he was put on suspension pending investigation. The investigation was taking so long. There was so much negative happening with it that we finally told Mel that it was better for him and better for our company for him to go on in a different way.
McMahon doesn't deny Phillips had a foot fetish, but she said it had become a joke and was blown out of proportion.
You call a man filming your feet for hours at a time and playing with your feet and making you cry when you're only 13 years old and recording it for his own sexual purposes. If she calls that normal, then obviously there's something wrong with her also.
McMahon says,
well, I don't want to show her anymore because the bitch lies some more. So basically, I showed that because, you know.
Boom.
Yeah, you know, when you think about it, though, now you look at my brother. Does he seem like he's lying just by the way he's acting and the way he's speaking? He's never been considered a liar. They've never proved anything he said that's false. And can you imagine Linda McMahon? Let me finish. Imagine Linda McMahon said that a grown man playing with 13-year-old kids' feet and filming it, there's nothing wrong with it. That just came out of her mouth, didn't it? It was a running joke. She said it was a running joke.
It was a what? And, that's a running joke?
That's what she said just now.
Is she friends with James Gunn?
Yeah, because he said the same thing. Yeah, he said the same statements. And the funny part is, in this age, they fired him, and you know, here we have the head of a company who just like, oh yeah, it was just a joke.
And then they took Mel Phillips, and they fired him. And then a couple months later, Vince McMahon brought him back. And Vince McMahon admits it. And they said, why did you fire him the first time? And Vince McMahon said to a reporter, Phil Munchnick, that he got fired because we knew he had trouble with boys. Vince McMahon said that. So Vince McMahon admitted that Mel had trouble with boys, so we fired him. And then we hired him back 6 months later because Phil said, I won't do that no more. I'll leave the boys alone. You know, if you're a pedophile, you don't just stop on the dime. And, you know, when I hear that, it's like you're admitting your guilt, Linda McMahon, and you're still, you know, in business. You're in business, even after admitting that it was a running joke that this grown man played with 13-year-old boys' feet. You know,
Ecocidal Tendencies has had some great points, and he said Tom's story has never changed. Ergo, he can't be lying, and that's true. When you have somebody who lies, you can always track where aspects of the story has changed. But for years now, my uncle's story, his events, the way he tells it, has always been consistently the same. There's never even been a word that's been different every time he's told that. And, you know, if you're lying, of course your story's going to change up. We've covered liars here. And you can see a change in their story because they can't remember what they said from interview A to interview B. But if you look at any interview he ever went on, every single one, and you can find these all on YouTube, the story and the events are exactly word for word the same, because he doesn't need to change them. He lived it. It was the truth, and the truth doesn't change no matter how many times you tell it. Especially with something like this, you remember every detail for the rest of your life. So of course his story never changed for years.
And and they came after me because unfortunately I was the wrong messenger. Lee could tell you this. I used to get in a little bit of trouble when I was a young guy. Lee could tell you stories of United States Marshals coming to the door and looking for me and stuff. But you know what? It was always because I did stuff that had to do with money. I was a greedy guy. I grew up in the streets, and that's what I did. I hung out with some pretty rough characters back in the day, and we all, this is how we made our living. And but you never would see a domestic battery charge on me. You would never see anything with children on me. You would never see me. I always respect women. I never beat women or anything like that. I never did nothing with children, nothing. And yet, they come after me and say that I'm a hustler and a con man, and this is all false. Even though my brother, did I look like I programmed my brother, or did my brothers look like an intelligent man speaking? And we have to hear from the
because they think at it from a money perspective. So their angle to sell everything is always like the family's out for money. We're $1 billion corporation. And it's like, no, we're not asking for money. I don't want a cent from you guys. I want you to just take accountability.
Wait. What do you mean you don't want a cent? You have a GoFundMe right on your page.
The GoFundMe is for the virus stuff.
I'm kidding. You know what I mean. Lee.
Take our clues, Zod.
But no, the point is, even with the struggle that I went through, if they came in and they were like, oh, if you just shut up and stop talking about this, you could have this, this, and this. It's not worth it for me, because at a point, if I was to take money like that, then what does that make me to know that it confirms that everyone can be brought, that you can buy people's feelings. You can buy the loss of a family member, and you could just pay them off. And these people need to see you can't just pay everything. You can't just use money as.
And you know the difference now compared to 1992? Now we have networks where we can create our own videos and do stuff. And what I'm going to do over the next month, and I would like to get people to help me, is I want to go and ask the Snickers company, why is Snickers going to pay for the with the next WrestleMania? Why are they even involved with that? They know Tom. Everybody knows about Tom by now. It's all over the place. So they know all about that stuff.
With concussions, they got two things going on here. Why, and these are the same companies that'll go on. They'll make a commercial about how terrible we are as consumers, and we're not, doing diversity, and we're all racist and this and that. And they'll be the same ones who will endorse a man like this, who has broken the trust of children. So. What's going on?
We got to do, Lee. What we got to do, Lee. We got to ask your number one monitor, Cherry K, to find some links for Snickers and stuff, and how we can contact Snickers. Because if anybody can find information out like that, I think it would be Cherry. She's like a weapon.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'll DM Cherry K and I'll talk with her. But yeah, I mean. We really need to, we need to get out there and talk about the fact that there are real victims here. And this, my uncle isn't the only person. There are children out there who are still probably be around the age of my uncle that have been living with this, or, their whole life, and they have no voice.
And many of them. many people that age. There's no doubt. I know several people that are his age, but some of them are older now. Despite the fact that I know them, I'm not going to give out their names and bring up something that they may not want. But I hope that those people that know me, and there's a few of you, if you guys know what I mean, come forward. It's your call to come forward, but you should come forward, because that's the only way anything's going to happen here. If people that were Tom's age, there's two guys that worked for Mel Phillips, and they nicknamed them Mrs. Phillips. They used to make fun of them. The wrestlers, Gorilla Monsoon, while announcing a show, would make fun of these people. Mrs. Phillips, where are you? Come forward.
It's disgusting. And the thing that really gets me is I understand this whole, you can't fault the corporation, but really you can't specifically pinpoint one person. You can, because at the end of the day, it all leads back to one man who knew what was going on the whole time, acknowledged that they knew, and they did nothing. And, they're just as complicit, even though they didn't participate in the actions. They're still complicit with knowledge and keeping these people around and being forced, having their hand forced before they actually did anything. And their inaction has led to tons of lives being destroyed. I mean, that's just true.
And PB, you see the woman on the screen next to your emoji?
Yes, I can see the man.
The man, that's her name. Now she's a very popular wrestler, and she suffered bad concussions.
Yeah, I know. She got smacked in the face by Nia Jax, and that's why she's bleeding right there.
Well, and also Ronda Rousey had a very severe concussion.
Because Ronda Rousey doesn't know what she's doing.
Okay, you know what? But here's the reality in real life. Ronda Rousey would take the man and choke her out like nothing. Okay? So we know that. So she may not know, but the fact of the matter is Ronda Rousey she put UFC women's fighting on the map.
Right, she's one of the greatest female fighters of all time.
Well, anyway, the concussions that you got, women, beautiful women bashing their heads on the ground, suffering concussions. Very few people, very few, and women have softer skulls than men. And that's a fact. So you got that, they're in there doing this high flying stuff, feet in the face and everything like that. So what do you think, like a woman like this, what's going to be happening to her in 20 years from now?
Oh yeah, the long term.
I assume that she's gonna be taken care of by Seth Rollins' baby that she just popped out. That's got to be happening soon, right?
I didn't even know that. She's pregnant.
She got pregnant last year, right before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Because at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, the women that competed in the match didn't realize that the Raw Women's Championship belt was in the briefcase. So whoever won the match became the champion, because she just handed the belt over because she took time off because she got pregnant, which she told everybody on TV.
Oh, I thought it was Ric Flair that got her pregnant.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
Okay. Well, anyway, the soft skulls, the women fighting, the same thing's going to happen in UFC, but the UFC fighters are actually more protected than these women in the wrestling ring, because there are no rules in the wrestling ring. Whereas in UFC, there's rules, referees to stop fights and stuff. And, I don't know if you guys ever...
They will grab the guy off of them. I've seen quite a few ones. And I mean, with anything like...
I'm going to say one thing real quick, and then I got to take off, because there's a really good UFC fight tonight. I'll leave you and PB all alone like you guys want to be. But anyway...
That was creepy.
That was, yeah, we're not.
Oh, why you all tongue tagged? You know, eh?
I don't know why he's tongue tied. Stop being a weird fucko.
Only he said like PB could say it. What do you want to say about that one? The Catholic Church is being bought on the church. Well, we know about the Catholic Church for sure, Shalana. We definitely
do. Yeah, and WWE should be brought up on their own charges. I 100% agree.
So, like I was saying, that in the UFC, the women are better protected but there's no protection whatsoever for these wrestlers, and it's a horrible thing. Sure, they get paid better now than they got paid 20 years ago, but the fact of the matter is, by the time they retire, or they may not even get to retirement. But Ronda Rousey, people think that Ronda Rousey left for some stupid reason. She didn't. She had a concussion. If you hear her speak, she talks about it and the headaches and stuff. So, and she's a UFC fighter. She doesn't get concussed. Well, she kind of got concussed in the UFC toward the end there. But imagine her being scared to wrestle, even though they say wrestling's fake because of what happens to these women in the ring. And PB, you want to answer that before I take off?
If wrestling's fake?
No.
It's real to me, damn it.
Oh, that
so
does
Yeah, my brother Tom, when he was working for the WWE, he used to come home and he'd be laughing and going, Lee, I'm at the ring and there's people all over the place that are like, they're into the match like it's like so real. It could be the stupidest storyline going. And there's so many people that still think it's real. PB.
Okay. What it comes down to is, what is your definition of real? If your definition of real is, wow, I just saw Mick Foley fall 20 feet-ish off of the top of a cell through a table, and he looks like he's fucking broken in half. That's what Jim Ross was saying over and over. Okay, so he really fell off of that. He was really concussed. He was knocked out for a real 5 minutes. These are all real things that happen. But if your definition of real is the outcome is not predetermined, then obviously wrestling is not real. I know that, but I also don't know how every single episode of every other TV show that I watch is going to end. So what makes them okay to watch over wrestling?
PB, I couldn't have said it better.
Nobody's ever said it better.
But you just explained it. You explained that these are phenomenal athletes that do things that are insane. So
like
you're
totally
right.
insane. Like, okay, I don't know about everybody in the chat. Like, I remember watching ECW, Psychos.
Samu. Remember Samu?
He's like, hey, I'm just going to take this barbed wire, and I know that you would love to hit me with it, but I'm going to hit myself with it until I'm bleeding. Oh, okay. And then we're going to fight. Okay. Seems pretty real.
And when we fight, I'm going to have it wrapped around me. Yeah, you're right, man. No, PB, seriously, you said it perfectly. It's like what they do in the ring. It's like the outcome is predicted and we know what it is and stuff, but the stuff they do in there is like top level, unbelievable stuff. And that's why they're all on drugs and for the pain, and they can't sleep, and they have to, they work 300. People don't realize that they work sometimes 300 days a year. They're not always on TV, but they're always going to a show.
They're always traveling. They're performing at least 3 days a week, and it's usually 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
And too, the schedules are insane. Everything that they do physically is takes a real toll on their bodies. Just traveling that time, and then you're setting up, you're doing a show, and then you're getting back on the bus and traveling again. I remember watching the documentary on CM Punk, which was interesting, but him being like, he was like, yeah, he rented a whole bus to himself because the toll that it took on his body, he was just like sleep on the bus and then keep on traveling. And that's how these guys engage with life.
Yep. And then I remember when CMM dominated UFC. Remember that, PB?
Who?
When PM Punk thought he was a UFC fighter and went there to dominate.
When CM Punk thought that he was going to go be a fighter and he got absolutely annihilated. I was like, guy, you're a professional wrestler. You didn't have the base that Brock Lesnar had when he's like, you know what, I'm going to go try that sport out. Brock Lesnar is an NCAA Division I champion. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah. And Brock Lesnar's base was steroids. That was his base. Let's face it. Remember his last match? His last match, he won with that Samoan, the guy from New Zealand. And even though he won it, he laid on him. And then afterwards, they took the steroid test, and they said that he had enough steroids to put muscles on an elephant. So, and he's never been back to the UFC.
Yep.
No, and he'll never go back.
And guys, I enjoyed this show tonight. I think John was great. And I'm going to leave these two alone in the closet, and I'm going to take off because I want to watch a good UFC fight tonight. So thank you, everybody.
Goodness, the closet. It's the Fandom Zone. No one's coming in or out of a closet.
PB, you were all over tonight. Thanks for that great opinion on wrestling. It needed to be heard.
I have the best wrestling opinions.
Well, that was, you know what? Can I give you some credit without you stroking your ass?
Highly unlikely.
Yeah, well, hey, you got to do it. You're a married man. You got no choice. Okay? Well, you guys take care. Have a nice night.
You too.
You too. Enjoy the fight.
Yeah, so I mean, here's the thing: we're only gonna go for a little bit longer because the bitchy one will be returning, extra angry, more personal stuff. So I don't want to be live for that wrath. So let
Shenanigans.
Yeah, you guys.
Wait. You don't want to be live for it. But what happens if you ask the people watching if they want you to be live for it?
Oh, these crazy people would be like, sure.
I mean, I heard her come home last night, and it was not pleasant.
No, stress. A lot of...
from you.
Even though we got a lot of financial situations set, moving into a new place, great prospect, but the reality is it is crazy. So here's the outline for anyone who missed it and create a brief synopsis. You can go check out the beginning, but basically there's another issue that's coming up, and this really highlights what I've been talking about with my uncle, is that there's also now an issue of wrestlers being injured with concussions and things like that. And because of the fact that they are running under the banner of entertainment, these aren't being addressed. And yes, I might not win this case with my uncle.
Wait, you've won something before?
I've won things in my heart and soul. Anyways, I might not win them getting. Oh, jeez.
You're getting lots of ones in the chat here, Zod.
Yes, I know. Thank goodness I'm only picking her up, so she's currently not coming in. I've got to actually go and get her.
You're picking her up?
Yeah.
So why can't you be live for the entirety of picking her up?
Because sometimes in life.
You cannot steal a black man's answer like that. That is total appropriation. Unbelievable. I'm telling Terrence. I'm like, dude, he's just out here just stealing your lines straight up. He wasn't even like, oh, like Terrence would say, sometimes in life. He just took the line and said it with no credits. You're like freaking Carlos Mencia telling jokes out here.
And, he'd probably be like, well, PB, villains sometimes in life just steals.
Yeah, I know, but he can do that because it's his line.
But no, I wanted to get your opinion on not only that, do we have this thing with my uncle?
Oh, hold on. I just have to answer a question real quick. No, Gary.
That was very cryptic.
No, it's not cryptic. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's only cryptic to you because you are not looking at the chat. Every single person who is looking at the chat right now, which I don't know if all 20 people are looking at the chat right now, but every single one can see what Gary North's question was, and I said, no. It's not cryptic at all. Yes or no question. Are you kidding me?
No, I've seen it. And he's talking about, what's funny? After you started watching Twin Peaks and you were giving your review, you know what? I'm like, I'll start watching it because then we could go.
Okay, you want to know the problem with watching Twin Peaks?
You have to be really high to watch it and get everything.
No, that is not the problem. That is the solution. Anyway, the problem with Twin Peaks is you can't really be doing anything else while you're watching that show. Even being on Twitter. Just checking a message here or a message there or talking to a friend for 5 minutes and then, I don't know, sometimes I go on Twitter for, it seems like 30 seconds, and then I'm just like, oh, I got, 5, 6 notifications. I'll just look at these real quick. And I go, oh, and then I get a phone call. And who is that phone call from today?
Probably a villain.
Every freaking time, man. I was like, all I wanted to do was enjoy a little bit of time on Twitter, and I get a phone call, and I was like, dude, okay, I need to take my earbuds and plug them into the phone because I'm not holding this up to my freaking ear the whole time, and I'm not wasting time exclusively talking to you when I can do other things. You can't do other things when you're watching Twin Peaks. You need to know why the log does not judge. And apparently, all of the answers are in the show. And I thought that I told Gary that I made it to the season finale because season 1 is only 8 episodes, even though the pilot is double the length. So I made it to the season finale, but I feel like I want to go back and rewatch the entire season before I watch the season finale because I feel like I've missed the whole show since I've watched the entire show.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that there's so many theory sites and things on this show. I remember watching it during its original run.
Oh no! Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And then I watched it again before The Return came out, and I watched a movie, Fire Walk with Me. You'll have fun with that acid trip. And David Lynch is a very interesting director, because I feel like they told a man who should just be making movies, we need you to make a show. And he said, sure, if I could do it the way I want to. And the show within itself doesn't feel like a television show. Like, it has the format, but everything that's formatted in it feels like it's making fun of the construct of television, right from the music, when they're doing the like little like romance scenes, we'll say, quote unquote. It feels like,
oh no, the overacting in the show is spectacular.
Oh yeah, but it's like purposely done. It's not like they're overacting because they can't act per se. It's like almost everything he does seems like an intentional jab at something while still telling a story. And boy, you're only past season 1. Man,
no, I'm on season 1, guy. No, I'm not past season 1. I'm on season 1. Get it straight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a show.
Anyway,
you're gonna watch it. You're gonna get done.
So,
and you're gonna watch it again.
we'll give myself away a little bit here. Recently, I've been rewatching Stargate SG-1 again because I don't necessarily have to pay attention to everything in Stargate SG-1 because I watched it 10, 12 times all the way through. So I'm sitting here quoting the lines, and gosh, the episode I was watching today, I was like, yeah, I'm going to quote this line. Boom, got it wrong. I'm going to quote this line. Boom, got it wrong. And I was like, what is going on? I was freaking out. I was like, what is happening right now? I know this entire episode, and it's not like I was getting the lines entirely wrong. Like, I was saying one word wrong in the line. I was like, it's a sad day. It's a sad day in the woods.
Yeah, that's why I go back through and watch my favorite movies or stuff just to bone up. But I mean, you know, it's so weird seeing a show like Twin Peaks now and then seeing the state of the way entertainment is, and knowing that there were creative people like that. And
okay,
you know,
so I was told in the chat that apparently I am going to be judged by the log. Like, that sounds terrible. Because I know all of the people that this log is talking about, at least as far as I made it into it. And it's not like they're great people. There's one great person in the show. If I'm going to answer the question of Gary North of who is my favorite character so far, well, obviously my favorite character so far is the main character. I can't help myself. Dale Cooper is the best character. The funnest character is, gosh, I can't remember his name. Jerry? Jerry's the brother that just wants to party and brings in the Icelanders?
Jerry.
The Icelandic bastards? Yeah. Love Jerry, but he's not my favorite. He's close, but I definitely like Dale Cooper the most. But I can't believe I'm going to get judged by a log. Like, I live around a whole shit ton of logs. They're all over the place. I'm going to get judged by this log from the Great Northwest. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
and I'm getting roasted for watching Stargate SG-1 again. It's not my fault that it's the greatest show that ever lived.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny too because
except that she hates it.
It's funny because this guy gives layers to a lady who literally talks to a log, and the interesting part about it is that the writing is so tight that even the craziness, the tripped out scenes, everything that you watch in that show, whether it's now or it's later, it will all factor into where you get to the Returned. It, like, everything is like relevant.
Stop talking to me, Zod. You shut your fucking pie hole right now. Are you kidding me? Like, no, I was sitting here talking about my experience with the show, and you are the king of, oh, sorry, spoiler alert. What a fucking, don't tell me that anything is ever going to come back up again. I don't want to know what's going to come back up. I know nothing about this show. I've never known anything about this show. Ever.
You know what's funny? I couldn't spoil it for you. I really couldn't, because the complexity behind everything.
Yes, you could.
It would take me literally probably 3 days.
Yes, you could. You'd be like, this character shows back up, and I'd be like, well, that's weird because they're dead.
I mean,
no, you shut your pile. Don't say it. Don't say it. Do not say it. Like, I already laughed my ass off when the actress that's Laura Palmer, right, shows up as her cousin. I was like, I did not see that coming at all. And then they're like, yeah, I'm her cousin. And everybody told me that I looked a lot like her. I was like, you're just going to say it. You're just going to say it? Okay.
Oh, Geekicidal, why are you giving spoilers? Oh, come on, man.
Oh, I can't read that comment now, can I? Don't look at that comment. Somebody erase the comment if it's a spoiler.
Yeah, it was about the multiverse. So, yeah.
I mean, I did hear about some video on YouTube that's some multi-hour thesis that explains it, and I think I found the one that I was told about. It's like 4.5 hours or something like that. And it says it explains everything. And I clicked on it just so it would be easier to add to the watch later list, right? So I was like, okay, we'll just click on it. And right as it starts, it says, massive spoiler alert. And I was like, pause?
Oh, yeah. Because I watched it, and the guy throughout the whole thing is like 10 minutes of saying, this is a spoiler. Spoilers. Like, seriously. If you turn into this and you send angry comments, I gave you 15 warnings. But yeah,
I mean,
I think that'd be interesting for us to talk about, because I'd like to know your perspective on everything versus how I perceive everything.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure that mine is the correct way and yours is some wacky dacky I can see in 3D and X-ray because I'm from the planet Krypton way of seeing things, right?
Actually, I'm going to call us both wrong and say neither of us are going to have the right answer. That only David Lynch knows what the right answer.
No. From what I can tell, no, from what I can tell, David Lynch don't even got the answers, man. He does not. He's like, you know what? You know what? You know what I'd like to do today? This actor, he done really pissed me off. So we're going to have him stand by a bucket, and we're going to have Kyle chuck some rocks over there. And one of them is going to ricochet off his face.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Oh, somebody drew the short straw. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was laughing about that. I was like, man, you know, that guy, man, oh, man.
Then he drops the gun. Like, oh, my God. Like, this is the most feckless deputy sheriff I've seen in my entire life. And you would think that people that don't like the MCU, and I don't know if there's any crossover here. I guess somebody else would have to tell me this, that somebody who didn't like the MCU for their misuse of comedy in a situation that is supposed to be sincere or serious or a moment that carries emotional weight. Wouldn't like Twin Peaks because there's comedy constantly in this show where there's supposed to be emotional weight. And you know how much I love that phrase.
And that's why for years it's been so divided. That's why the movie's divided. Because it's just so unique. It's one of the most, I could say honestly, it's one of the probably the most unique shows ever made.
Like
Gary North says
fuck Dallas and all of their Cowboys. It's just a team full of losers and a losing mindset, and I feel sorry for anybody who is a fan of that franchise. They're never going to return to the glory years of offensive linemen. And I say it that way because none of those players were going to be any good if they didn't have the anchor Larry Allen on the end. And I really wish that I could remember the other four because it's one of the greatest offensive lines of all time. And they don't get the credit because the ones in the Hall of Fame are Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. Oh my God. Talk about three people that if you put them on any other team with any other group of people, like you can just go one for one, switch Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith is going to have half the yardage of Barry Sanders, and Barry Sanders is going to have double the yardage of Emmitt Smith if you allow him to run behind that offensive line. So yeah, Dallas sucks, and they're never returning to those glory years because it's a franchise that's based in losing. So much so that even when they take their superstar and all he has to do is hold on to the football to win the game, he can't.
and Shalena's laughing because
I know she was talking about the TV show, but Bonnie wasn't talking about the TV show.
And so Gary Dorff says, once you have finished watching everything, I can get you an appearance on Twin Peaks Coffee Time to discuss your thoughts.
Twin Peaks Coffee Time? What is that?
That's the thing, channel, I guess. Not too sure.
It's a channel?
I think. I don't know. Gary, you got connections in the Twin Peaks world? Let us know. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be
or is it like a weekly show where they just keep talking about how Twin Peaks is the second greatest franchise ever?
I'd buy that over that Justice League is the coming of Christ.
Oh my God, these Snyder stands. I don't understand it.
Oh my God.
I don't understand it.
I got so
look at how shiny Steppenwolf is. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of polygons.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how when you get the thing you want the most, then you still don't have to expect good quality because you got the win. Screw the man. I'm sorry, I don't prescribe to that. Like this whole defense that, but yeah, this is a win for the fans.
For the fans.
And it's like, I didn't win shit.
If it was a win for the fans,
I still a DC movie.
If it was a win for the fans, we would have already seen it because every single one of those people that said release the Snyder Cut, every single one of them, there's not a single one that I talked to that I seen post on any kind of social media, and that's even on the social medias that I'm not on because I know how to go on the internet just a little bit. Anyway, every single one of them told me for years, it's done. It's done. Look at that. Even Aquaman watched it. Look at all of the people that are in the movie that watched it. It's quite obviously done, people. Fucking release it then. What are you waiting for? It's done. Release it. Obviously, it wasn't done. It was never done. It was never a real thing. It was an idea. And I know that for a fact because it literally took $70 million to finish it. Nothing is done if it takes $70 million to finish it. And you can compare that with an entire movie being made for $55 million, and that's called Joker. And that made $1 billion. How much money do you think this is going to bring in for HBO Max, Warner Brothers? The only people that this is going to bring money in for are the people that they have to cut checks for, as in the comic book artists like EVS. I don't know if he's going to get a credit in it. I don't know if any of his characters are in the movie. I don't know if he got one for the last one. I know he got one for Suicide Squad because Iron Heights is in it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so he got a check for that one, which was, I guess he said it was pretty substantial because that movie made, hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever. So that worked out for him. So those people are going to get paid because they're using their work, but they're not going to get a massive payday like you would if they would make something of quality. And by of quality, I mean not of Zack Snyder's. I feel like that's pretty simple.
And yeah, we had this discussion too. I mean, like I said when we had the people on your after party show, the fact of the matter is that it's fair for you to say, oh, I'm excited as a fan because I wanted this. That's a fair statement. But for you to praise something you haven't seen and to say because it's coming into existence, it's just naturally going to be good, that's an asinine and stupid statement. And like I said yesterday, it's still following the same story that Zach canceled out. And we all know how Man of Steel, BBS, and that turned out. So, I mean, you're still following that story. And this is the thing that really pisses me off about these people was before they were the same ones bitching, not all of them. You still had those weirdos who were trying to defend parts of BBS with me where I'm like, dude, I like this too, but I can't justify this scene anyways. You still have these people who are mad saying this sucked, and these are the same people now turning around going Snyder Cut, yeah, just because of this notion of people getting what they want. And look, that's good. We need more cases like this, but I mean, to just automatically think it's going to be the best before you see it and accurately judge it based on the merits of the movie is foolish.
I mean, isn't he skeeving off of Joss Whedon? Like I seen what he did. I seen what he did with when it was the little teaser with Darkseid. He's like, look at my Darkseid teaser. And I was like, wait a second. I've seen this before. All
and
you
I've been
did
meaning to cover
was
that
change
because
the color of the sky, like a hue. He's like, okay, we're just going to turn the dial about 10 degrees. That'll do there. We don't want to waste too much time turning dials. Time is money. And I don't want to be wasting time on something that I'm getting paid to do. So we'll just turn the dial a little bit. We'll just ditch that a little bit. It's fine. And then, it's a virtual character. So we don't even got to erase. We just got to go over to the side here and click it out. And then there goes Steppenwolf. He's out of the picture. He's gone. And, I already have Darkseid made. And click it in. Boom. Teaser made. How much did that cost? $500,000. Boom. Pay the man.
Yeah, and that's the thing that gets me about this whole thing, this whole argument. It's just like, I'm really intrigued. To see the reviews and the pass this movie's going to get from all of these people, and then how people are going to get attacked when they give it a fair review, like I'm sure we'll wind up probably doing, because I can already see it like, oh yeah, you see how spectacular this is. It's nothing like, and And when you really think about it, it's just repurposed with stuff added in. I mean, to me, I'm failing to see where this is, where we were promised it's new. No, it's not. You could literally see some of the same scenes being promoted. They just added a scene here, a scene there, but the construct of the movie, as far as I can tell, looks about the same. It says
it's exactly the same, except they're like, how are we going to get away with actually charging $70 million for this thing? He's like, dude, just write a new scene. Like, I know you got that 214 minutes. Make it 218 minutes. Boom! Blow your mind. And they're like, well, how are they going to know that it's a new scene and it's not something that we already had in the hopper? Because, you know, the whole thing was made and finished. And they said, Jared Leto. Oh, God. Oh, my God. And I was like, okay, yep. So that's 4 minutes that I can skip over. Don't need to see that scene at all. And sure shit, he's on the shitter. Unbelievable. I was like, wow. You know exactly where this movie is going to end up. They show it right to you.
Well, it'll be interesting. And, you know, thanks everybody for coming on by. We appreciate having you. Guess start to wind things up.
You're going to start to wind things up? I feel like
all around.
Unbelievable. You said that you were going to wind things up about, gosh, I don't know. Let me scroll back up. I'll scroll back up in the chat and I'll know exactly when you were winding things up, because you were winding things up when your Pops was still on here. So that was about 35 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know. And then we got into Twin Peaks, and then we got into Justice League. And Gary North, that's not a fair comparison. Anything is better than The Last Jedi.
What are you trying to do to me, Gary? Why? Why? Like, I already talked about Zack Snyder, and now you got to bring back the only thing from 2017 that I can remember. It's the only thing from 2017 that I can explicitly remember. I was like, you know what? 2017. I don't remember anything overly explicitly. Like, it was a pretty good year. Nothing was overly terrible. Everything seemed to go okay. So then what happened? Well, I was excited. I was like, they're going to put Luke Skywalker in the entire movie, guy. They're going to, the entire movie. He's going to be in the entire movie from the start to the finish. They're not just going to have him for the last 15 seconds. We're talking 2 hours of Luke Skywalker going through the galaxy, whooping Nazi ass. It's going to be glorious. And then I went to the movie and I watched the entire thing, and it was well over 2 hours. It was 2.5 hours. And I was like, okay. I sat there through the whole thing, and I got up at the end of the movie and I said, what the actual fuck was that? And I've never watched it again. It is literally the worst Star Wars movie I have ever seen in my entire life. It is the only one in the episodic series that does not have an actual lightsaber duel. It has a stupid fucking metaphorical lightsaber duel because the fight at the end between Kylo Ren and an apparition does not count. First of all, they didn't even contact each other, mostly because they couldn't. Secondly, the lightsaber duel that they did have in the throne room isn't the one that everybody thinks it is. They go, what do you mean? There was a massive lightsaber duel. It's the one where they made that blade disappear. You remember that, right? And I was like, yeah, I remember it. I didn't see it happen in the movie because I only saw it in the theater. I didn't know it until I don't know which video I watched on YouTube. You don't know how many times I've actually watched the movie because I've watched hours and hours of this person saying it's the worst thing ever, and this person saying it's the greatest thing ever, and all these people that say it's the greatest thing ever, and I'm talking about you, perp. You are in that category because you're like, Rian Johnson, greatest Star Wars director ever. That round-headed motherfucker knows exactly what he's doing. I was like, okay. Frickin' it doesn't even come up to the level of whatever movie from either trilogy you think is the worst. It is 10 times worse than that. And we're talking about story and physical problems. Anyway, back to the lightsaber duel. In the lightsaber duel, the lightsabers never contact. Not once. Those stupid throne room guards, and what exactly are they guarding? Because Snoke is dead. There's nobody alive in the room, so don't you now serve the person that you're attacking? Stupid. Anyway, so they're fighting the guy that they're supposed to be protecting and trying to murder him for who knows what reason. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody's ever been able to give me an answer that has any kind of logic behind it. Not a single person anywhere on the internet, and I have searched. Anyway, make it all the way through that. No lightsabers touch. But at the end of the fucking duel, when they're like, wait a second. I wanted you to join me. And then she goes, wait. No. You should join me. No, I don't want to do that. I'm still evil. Yeah, but I don't want to be evil. I'm still good. I was like, wait a second. We just had this moment where you were supposed to be coming together, and it was all for nothing again? Okay, so then they actually do a lightsaber duel. They literally use the Force to duel over Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, or the Skywalker family lightsaber, which is appropriated by a white woman. Unbelievable.
That was fantastic.
I didn't see anything in the chat for like the last, I don't know how long that rant was. It seemed like it was not as long as it felt. But it felt
Jessica, welcome. Koala, welcome. Good to see all of you people. If you missed the stuff from earlier, you could go back to the beginning, of course, after we're done, because I will eventually. But I just want to give my own thoughts. What was more frustrating than seeing The Last Jedi was I went to see Lights Out. That's what I wanted to do to Rian Johnson after this movie. I'm sorry, Knives Out. People have praised this thing.
No, fuck Rian Johnson.
And I just want to say one thing. Okay, the actors were good. They did what the script told them, but the fact that this movie got praised, and it's a murder mystery, right, folks? Murder mystery, meaning your director is supposed to trust that he leaves you breadcrumbs, and maybe, midway through the movie or towards the end of the movie, you find out who the killer is, and you have all these theories and speculations. But what does arrogant, round-headed bastard do? What does he do? He drops the biggest clue that anybody, my daughter watched this movie with me because, she likes some of that stuff. My daughter, who's 14, figured out who the killer was. And everybody held this as the greatest masterpiece. Minds will never figure out what it is. And it's like, if you watch the movie and you see one specific scene, and you know what? Fuck it, spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, I'm saving you time. There is a scene where the killer is using the Landis thing, the lattice, those wooden things you climb up to get to the level of the floor. And the grandmother says the person's name, it's Chris Evans' character, says it in the window to the girl as she's climbing down. And I said, well, fuck, why am I staying for the rest of the movie? Because basically she tells the whole audience, and now this wouldn't upset me if this was a movie where you found out the killer like at the beginning of the film, and okay, we're not playing this as a mystery. We know as the audience who it is, but the other characters are trying to figure it out. No. What pissed me off was I was strung along as an audience member under the false assumption that I had to use my thinking cap and my mental wits and that it's not going to be revealed to me till the end of the movie, but he'll leave little breadcrumbs. Nope. Rian Johnson again treats his audience like inferior monkeys, and he's just like, oh yeah, I know that, you guys are just so inferiorly intelligent to me that I'm going to leave you the most obvious clue in the world. Like, I'm literally going to have a character say the person's name to another character on the scene that I preference. The killer went going up there. So, I mean, it's not like I had to make all these leaps. They said, oh, hey, yeah, the killer used this to get into the room. So that was already in my mind in the fucking beginning of the movie. I mean, and this is the problem with Johnson and why he was the worst pick in the world for Star Wars, is that he's cocky, arrogant, and condescending. You can even see it in his interviews. And he wants to make intelligent films, but he does the cardinal mistake and treats his audience like we're a bunch of idiots. So instead of doing the right thing and trusting your audience has common sense, and we talk to all these people, I don't think there's a single person in our chat right now that's an idiot or dumb. I think these people are smart, intelligent people that if you left them some clues, they could put it together. Or, God forbid, we just have a surprise. God forbid a movie just, surprises us like, oh, I thought that I knew what was going to happen, but that director was so skilled, he just subverted my expectations. See, Ryan, you need to look up that word, because that's subverting your expectations, not going, oh, you know how I subverted every Star Wars fan's expectation? I took Luke's character. I looked at it. I said, fuck that. That's boring. We're doing an old grumpy Luke who gave up on life and the Force. Well, what's your reasons, Ryan? Because he's a murderer. Well, Ryan, he's like the balance to the light side. He redeemed his father. How are you going to work that in? He had a father. He didn't have a father. Rey is everything. Because guess what? Family doesn't matter.
I feel like you ruined it, guy. You ruined it. Like, my rant was way better than yours.
Now, whatever.
It really seemed like you were competing with me for a second there. Like, I went on this epic Last Jedi rant, and then you tried piggybacking off of my rant to rail against Rian Johnson, and you tried using freaking Knives Out as your catalyst. Like, that was never gonna work.
No,
you liked the movie.
I liked the acting. Yes, I gave credit where credit was due. But the premise and the thing that pissed me off was the mystery, right? You're selling a mystery movie, but you give people the biggest clues in the middle of the movie. You're not even like, it's a 2-hour movie. You're an hour and a half into the film. And I said this on my review. You're like an hour and a half in, and unless you're not paying attention or you just don't give a shit, the clue is like so glaring obvious that when I'm watching it as an audience member, it makes me feel like the director is telling me I'm too stupid to put it together. Cyber, I see your comments. You just said you've been like, oh, bro. It was Chris.
What?
I thought it was him in the ads. Huh? Through the ads? Okay.
Who are you answering right now? What?
Cybernetic.
What's the question?
That's what I'm trying to figure out, because he said, At Mr. Zod's Fandom Zone, can you read my comment right?
You
But
read my comment, right?
Oh,
Said, hey,
yeah.
everyone, I have been lurking.
But yeah, you know, that's just it. I mean, the problem with that, and that's just a problem in general. In general, it's the reason why we have this.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at you, but when you say general now because you're no longer a general, I find it funny. So
The artist
that's
formerly
unfortunate for
known
you.
as.
And I need to say one thing to the chat. Gary, you get it.
Yeah,
that cryptic enough for you?
I knew you were going to say that. PB gives the best rants. Yeah, I know. He does do funny rants. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
Whoa. That rant was funny? Everyone's sitting here laughing at me?
Oh, that
People are not
rant
sitting
was
here laughing at me.
hilarious.
Unbelievable.
That was like, but the thing is, it's the truth. It's what everyone had been feeling at that time, you know? And we just get passionate because we get tired of people messing up our stuff. Like, it's so easy to do. If you have a budget like that, there should be no excuse in the world how you mess something up that literally someone hands you the work done. That's what baffles my mind. Like, literally, the person said, hey, guys, this is my plan. If you follow this, get the director, you're going to make tons of money. And Disney is like, yeah, George, we know that's your plan, but you can go fuck yourself now. This is like that. I mean, am I wrong?
And that's one way to do it. No,
Kathleen
not necessarily.
Kathleen looked and she was like, yeah, George, yeah, I'll follow all your plans. Don't you worry. I'll make the movie you want. As soon as she got it, she was like, the force of female. Blah! Ryan Johnson, J.J. Abrams, fuck it up. And the funniest part is she didn't even monitor anything they were doing. That's why you have a discrepancy in the story. If any of you, from what I've heard, and I know Bonnie has seen it because she was making comments, right? If any of you guys watch that movie, please explain to me if you could personally yourself putting all three movies together, can you find out what the fuck the story is? Because I still don't know from this day. I know it's a bunch of.
I'm surprised that you can pronounce her name. I never hear you say her name. And I was going to say one thing. Hold on. Bonnie, you get it.
Oh, God. So, I mean,
did you see what her comment said?
Yes, I did.
Read it out loud.
Yes, it's about you, PB.
What's it say? What does it say?
PB has the best rants.
Ba-ba-boom, bitches!
And
also, you want to hear something else, Zod?
Yep.
I won the Twitter poll.
I know you did. The one, okay, you know what? The one I wasn't even tagged in, so I couldn't defend myself. Maybe get some of my.
What do you mean defend yourself? You would have voted for yourself. Because I can't vote in a poll that I put up. And he would have been like, you know how I can defend myself? Boom, vote. Hey, bitchy, can you vote on this? And she'd be like, yeah, I can vote on that. And then you'd lose because she'd vote for me.
I know. I wouldn't include anyone.
You'd be like, I need to scrub this now. It's even.
I would. Hey, we're bots, so I would have got my Russian bots on it.
Yes, geek, I won a poll. But I mean, it was almost a hollow win because I was only going up against Zod. Like, Zod can get taken out by an L. So.
Yeah, I hate you.
Like, I feel like I can take it a step above an L, right? Like a K, maybe an H.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this, you son of a bitch. I know where you're going with this, and that name won't be spoken on this channel.
So he's gonna say it in the chat. He's going to. You know, Geek is going to say that in the chat.
Yep, I know. But anyways, do you got anything coming up on your channel? Anything you want to promo before I get the hell up out of here?
Coming up on my channel, gosh, it really seems like everybody here is prodding me to finish watching Twin Peaks so that I can go on some other channel. Like, what is that? How about that other channel come on my channel? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, maybe I'll finish watching Twin Peaks and then I'll have to record my season 1 review. But gosh, what's the date? It's getting towards the end of February. Maybe I should do something for Black History Month.
Speaking of which,
they're not going to appreciate that. They don't want to have the ginger do something for Black History Month. They'd be like, nope, we need somebody else to stick up for us. We already have an army of white people.
I mean, yeah.
Shut up, perp.
Yeah, not at 1K yet, but I'll be there soon, hopefully, one day.
I will recognize your next comment with a laugh, and that is all. No name for you, because you can't show up here. Like, I can show up in the chat, but I'm not going to join the stream.
Jesus PB season 1, we'll expect your review in June.
Oh my God. June?
Yeah,
okay.
Because you're gonna
hold on a second now. Wait a second. Like, I recorded the audio for the video that I put out. So the most recent video on my channel, the one talking about the deal that I made to watch Twin Peaks, I put that out, 2 days ago? Something like that?
I don't think you realize, how long you're going to have to watch this show.
I don't have to watch this show to have an opinion of it. What are you talking about? You don't have to watch the show 5 times through and be like, okay, now I have the answers. I can watch the show through and be like, okay, I've watched all of Twin Peaks and it was spectacular and I have no idea what happened. 30-second review.
I have actually expect that review.
Right?
You're gonna come on.
Somebody has done that. Okay. There is a fair number of people here that are from Stevie's channel, as in they found us through finding him. So that's how I say that. They're from his channel. That's how they got here, right?
Yeah, it's some for Rob's too. Rob and Stevie would be the big ones.
Okay. Anyway, if you go over to Stevie's channel and you want to watch the most succinct review on a rebooted movie that I have ever seen in my entire life, so you may have seen a better one, but it's the best one I've ever seen, go to his channel and search for the Charlie's Angels review. It's fucking epic.
Oh, yeah.
I need to pay attention to the show. What show? I'm always paying attention to the show. That's why I haven't been watching it lately. To spend too much time on Twitter. And then I was editing that video. Do you have an idea how long it took me to edit that video? There was a reason why when I shared the tweet, I said, here's a video that had a whole bunch of editing that nobody's going to watch. Enjoy. Because I edited the ever-living crap out of that thing, and then you got to slide stuff around so it's just in the right spot so that when I say the line that I say, Dale Cooper spills his cup of coffee. I was like, oh, that's going to fit perfectly right here. thank you very much. But then you got to shift it around a little bit, and then you trim a little bit off. And then you do, I don't know what it was, 2.5 hours of editing and just sliding shit around, and chopping it up and moving it back and sliding it forward and sliding it backward. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then your device has a malfunction. And when you go back into it, you thought that you hit save 5, 6, 7 different times while you're working on it. And you go back to the front end because I knew I had to add a couple things on the front end still. And I went, oh, apparently everything that I just worked on for the last 2 some hours didn't happen. So time to take a break because it's driving me insane. So I didn't think that was going to happen. And everything was, oh man, it was just perfect. You have an idea how frustrating it is to have everything just perfect and then have to get everything back to just perfect? Ah! Sorry, everybody. I didn't mean to scream in your ear. I apologize.
Oh, man. Well, with that, I'm going to bid everybody adieu. Thank you very much for coming out and watching. Make sure you like, retweet, share this video. Tomorrow or Monday, there will be a Batman and Robin review. It's really on Bitchy because she's kind of not been able to because of work. So I'm going to hopefully be able to get her to do it tomorrow. But if not, it'll definitely be Monday because we'll both be off. So
I am taking Twin Peaks seriously, Bonnie. I am taking it seriously. I am paying attention. I'm taking it so seriously that every time that I'm watching it, I have my phone flipped upside down and turned on silent. What do you mean I'm not taking it seriously? It's not my fault that the show is not taking me seriously. That's not my fault. Like, I'm sitting here like, okay, they're going to this woman's house to do an interview with her, and she turns to them and says, come on in. My log won't judge. What? I'm not taking it seriously.
Oh man, what great fun. But yeah, we'll be doing Bat Nipples. Don't worry. I know, and Bitchy has heard the request. She knows too. It's just been getting our work schedules to line up. So hopefully it'll be tomorrow or the next day. But at any point, the Glare will be on here for that as well, because apparently he's a huge Batman fan. So he was like, oh, I've got some things to say about the movie that destroyed all of my childhood dreams when it came out. So it'll be a fun little review. So yeah, stay tuned for that and many more things. As always, remember the only rule here in the Fandom Zone, Neil.
It takes us an hour to wrap up.
Good night.